and welcome to the Priggya Arora Show, where we discuss law and entrepreneurship with people who have been there and done that. My name is Priggya Arora, founder of PA Legal, an intellectual property law firm in India, and our guest for today is very inspiring social media lawyer, Mr. Govind Chaturvedi. Welcome, Govind, on the show. How are you doing?
Thank you, Priggya, for having me.
Thank you, Govind. Just to let everybody know, Govind is a dear friend. So I know this conversation is going to be fun, and he works in a very interesting area. And let's start with our warm-up question.
Yes.
So, Govind, what is one thing in life you can't live without?
Definitely family and friends. Like there'll be two things, but I consider my friends family. So I'm going to say family.
Wow.
So definitely, no one can have a pure life. No one without the support of family or the love of them. We need it in our lives to get through. So yeah, I think it's just that's one thing that you can never do without.
I hope I am one of them.
Of course, yeah, you're very different. Of course, you are. Yeah, so that's something I really believe. And, I also believe that work is very important to keep us, so, but family takes the cake every time. So,
Yes,
nothing beyond that.
Yes, I know. So, Govind, the topic for today is social media laws, and we'll be discussing a lot about social media and laws around it. So, since the past few decades, we have seen things changing, a new
Yeah.
kind of era coming where people are social media heavy. Everybody is generating their personal brands. So, what do you think about law and privacy? How have they shaped up?
See, social media has been there for quite some time. I remember when I was in, I think, 9th, 10th, like this was like 2004, they had High Five.
Yes.
Prior to that, they had MySpace. I was never on MySpace. Then they had Awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward closed down. And then we had Facebook.
Yeah.
And, we also thought that Facebook might go the other way, that all social media networks go eventually, right? But Facebook has been able to sustain itself. It has a great business model. It has been there for quite some time. They've been coming up with new ideas every time. The latest being Meta, which we are very aware of right now, which is also the very hot topic of discussion nowadays in IP. So yes, I think over here with law and privacy does come into the picture because on these networks, one of the main reasons people signed on to Facebook was because at that time you couldn't see someone's profile until and unless you were friends with them.
Yes.
If you remember, yeah. And that was the major reason people went to Facebook because they wanted their privacy. However, for these privacy networks to work, any social media network to work, they have to tailor it to your experience. Even our phones today, they are tailored to our experience, because we would like to see the things we would like to see. If someone wants to see, maybe wisdom quotes all day, they'll see that. If someone wants to see technology news, they'll see that. Us as lawyers, everything keeps popping up. And, ever since I moved to Canada, all my ads have changed now to Canadian services and what I'm dealing with. So it is very beneficial, but where does the privacy problem come in? Where do they cut off? That is a very important aspect. It's very vague right now. Yeah. Because even if you go on the policies of Meta, what they're doing is they're using the Facebook, your Facebook personality to use and go and make it into the metaverse to, and they tailor it across platforms now with the Facebook days. Whether it is Instagram or Facebook or Meta, now they're using it to tailor it to your idea. So, they need it. They need your information, but you today have been given the idea how much you can give to them. So you have the idea to go into settings, and now there are even new laws that have come for dark patterns. Yeah. Dark pattern, I will explain to you, is basically when it is very easy to sign on to something, but when you want to sign off, the procedure is very long. And this is something a lot of companies were doing to stop people from not, being able to unsubscribe or, not explicitly give consent. However, at this point in time, now it has dark patterns also being come in the eyes of the government, and they're looking into it. Canada has 10 principles of basically privacy, which is accountability, consent, limiting collection of data, limiting use, retention, and keeping of the data with them, accuracy, safeguards, openness, and individual access, and challenge of compliance. So, and also with all of these are basically very important principles of privacy, which if you look at Canada, they've had their Privacy Act in 1983, which is for governments. For private sectors, they've had it since 2001. And way back in 2010, they pulled up Facebook and they said, listen, a lot of things you're doing is not correct. So privacy has been a major issue with social media networks. The only problem is where the line is drawn.
Yeah.
I don't know where the line can be drawn. And let's just say if we're just disseminating the data among people. Like even Facebook today says this, that we will give your data to third parties. We will give it to other people. We will give it so other ads can be seen. But all of that data, they state, if you go into your privacy settings, state your name should not be given. Right? That particular thing is something which is not everyone knows.
Correct.
So I always suggest to people that if you want to regulate your data, it's in our hands currently. There is no law. Because the law will take years to develop at this point. And we are very lucky with the GDPR coming into place. But then again, a lot of countries are not that advanced in their privacy data laws. So eventually I tell people and I tell all my clients that, listen, it is up to you. You have to regulate your data. You don't have to go social media off. Like you don't have to cut off from social media, but you can tell them what you want to decide.
Correct.
How much you want to share with them. And if you can't do so, then that is a problem. But as of I know, no social media network is doing that because they have to comply. Because the GDPR coming into place, now you cannot trade with the entire block of Europe. Correct. That is a major economic problem.
Correct.
So everybody is now listening to them. Everybody is making sure that the data they have, they are using it properly.
Correct.
Otherwise, it is going to be a problem. It is going to be a problem, but I don't think in the near future, we might have some laws looking into social media and law network, but privacy is, I believe that if countries just regulate their privacy laws better, social media will come within the ambit eventually.
Yeah. So I think, all these platforms, they give us a variety of options to monitor our data, regulate our data, what we need to disperse, what is need to be kept personal. But thing is, hardly people know about it. Or hardly people care about it. Like if I go on a new platform, I create an account, the last thing I'll open is my privacy settings and make it according to my thing or my thing. My option.
No one has
a time. No one has I think no one even wants to think about it because we are in too hurry. For example, I want to create something. For that I need a software. I'll just open the website. These softwares are as provided as a service in our web browsers alone. So I'll open the web browser, I'll open the website, I'll not even provide my credentials. I'll ask them to take my credentials from Google and my account is created. So
I once went go-karting in Gurgaon.
Yeah.
They took all my data. They took everything, my email, my phone number, my government ID to my photo. And I was like, I do not need to give you this to go-karting.
Yeah.
So it is also how much information does the business require? That is another essential.
Correct.
Because, like I said, the one of the 10 principles, one is identifying purpose.
Yeah.
So if from the data I can be identified. This was a major problem when Google started Google Plus. They took all the Google data and they put it on social media.
Yeah.
This one woman in Canada had an abusive ex-husband track her down.
Yeah.
And then 9 countries heads, they wrote to Google stating that this was not right. You cannot just take data and transfer it. So how much data is required? Now, supposing we're in a financial transaction. Okay, I'm your bank. I need your PAN card.
Yeah.
I don't need your driving license.
Yes.
So it is also what the company needs from you that you have to see and how much they're asking. So just because, and a lot of times companies just use the data and sell it off. Like they're not even data companies. They could just have a whole lot of data, which is because we also have to understand with social media has come social media marketing.
Correct.
Right? That is one of the biggest things right now. No one is spending money on news ads or even for TV spots anymore. Because what people are looking for is just because everybody's on their phone. All the buyers are young. So they're going to look for someone who's on Facebook or any of these. And everybody is there. Whether it's senior citizens, who are connecting with friends they haven't met since school. Or, just 2 friends who are like in class who don't talk to each other, but are friends on Facebook and they meet through that. Or for even us professionals,
Yes.
like today, We could be talking through, Facebook Messenger on video or Google GChat. But that what it becomes essential is how much data is required.
Correct.
How much should I send? So always ask yourself this question. I'm going go-kart. Why does this person need my man card? Even if he needs my driving license, which is by a long shot, not necessary to drive a go-kart, I'll still give him that, but it is not required. And that data does go places. There's this website called IMPWNED, IMPWNED.com. Put your email ID and you see how many times you've been infringed. And everybody has been infringed. Everybody's data has been infringed once and selected, and so that is the problem, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So, Govind, we just discussed that we do not have any specific law for social media and not a specific law for social media. So, what do you think? What are the intersection of various laws that can help?
Don't even get me started. Do not get me started on social media because it is so vast. You have criminal complaints within that. You have so much, because so many times one of the basic complaints I used to get from so many people was just their pictures have been stolen. Then you have to understand their influencers, their content gets stolen. So there's a whole IP angle to it. Then there's, of course, civil and tortious claims because you have defamation happening. Because today there's a very famous Indian case, actually. The first publication rule by Justice VP Sangha, I'm not remembering the name, but the first publication rule was decided in that case. What had happened was, if today I put a status, defaming someone, is that status if I reshare it, when will the limitation on that come? So the limitation was decided by the Delhi High Court. It was a very well-reasoned judgment, which stated that it was the English rule of the first publication rule. So you have to go when it was first published. If I have to restart the limitation period, if I supposing to reshare the defamation, the defamatory statement of my Facebook status, maybe when it pops up my story a year ago, then it restarts. But the day it is put on is when it will start. And that was a very important ruling, and it was a very early ruling. It was early 2010 ruling. I could look up the case, but it really was a very interesting part that they clarified that, because in that what had happened was one girl, it was a very funny case. This husband was having an affair with the wife was having an affair with her husband was having an affair with someone else, and that lady put up the status, and it was a matrimonial matter, just saying that he's defaming. So the point of it is it happens, and this will take place, and there can be no social media law as such, I believe, because it takes so many various acts to make one act. We can make a comprehensive act that can deal with one aspect of it, but social media today has become ubiquitous.
Correct.
Like most of the people I network with is LinkedIn. I cannot talk to professionals, I cannot reach out to professionals unless I'm talking on LinkedIn, right? And because that is the professional network, I cannot talk to them on Facebook. I cannot talk to them maybe on any other platform. So that is social media law will have to keep all the criminal aspects. It'll have to keep all the civil aspects. It'll have to keep all of them and put them into one rule. Maybe there can be a code for regulation of social media entities, but that will not cure your problem of the users and how they deal with it. All the users will have to be dealt with the various provisions of IPC or Civil Procedure Code, or, everything it goes as it goes by. So that is how we are going to decide these cases.
Yeah. So a thought came up in my mind, we live in a world, we live in a real world, then we have a virtual world where we live in. So we have a code of conduct for real world, like how we should live, which is all the laws by which we abide to, knowingly or unknowingly. Similarly, I think these laws, they need to be transported to the digital world also, because all of us have our digital identities, we have our digital wallets, we have our digital money, we have our digital identity,
digital avatars,
digital presence, everything. So I think everything is required in the digital world.
No, in fact, influences entire life, entire reputation, entire economic mainstay is their reputation on social media.
Correct.
So by going by that logic, if we are going to face these people, or social media has taken over everything that way. Influencers are one of the best examples. Kids who are just reviewing video games, or people who just eat food. Nowadays, there's a term for it. I don't remember it, but there's just people who just eat food and they make videos. I've come across the most amazing creators in my time as a lawyer, because I do consult them. And yeah, it is just, uh, this is how it's going to go. And people will, but you have to understand, basic, just to answer you there, people use social media for the escapist part of it, because we can escape from there. Putting those laws in social media might not be exactly to the benefit of most of these companies, because you're using enough time. What you're doing, maybe by words, could have real implications, but you cannot hurt anyone physically over there. So yes, there has to be regulation, but again, it has to be enough so people have that escapist angle at least to that.
Correct. So, Govind, I was reading about metaverse, and a person was sharing, like, we have this women related issues in a normal world. Similarly, it's happening in metaverse also, because people have their avatars, good touch, bad touch things. So people are able to feel that in metaverse as well.
Yes.
So do you think technologies such as metaverse are will bring a huge change, maybe not now, maybe 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, but with the development of these technologies, some major changes would come up in law?
Well, see, that is something that is always has been an issue from, this is times memorial, right?
Yeah.
Whether at that time it was a problem in the physical world, then as soon as it got on the internet, there are always going to be these people, right,
Correct.
that are going to create this toxic culture, and where people will be in a major problem, and people will be targeted. Cyberbullying was one of the basic ideas, right? So all of these things, you have to understand, there has to be a recourse to them. That you cannot stop them completely, you can ban them, right? But then these people have various ways of coming up, because that's what technology does. So this basically comes to the fundamental question: where does the twain meet? Where do law and technology meet? How fast is technology going? Is law being able to keep up? No, it is not being able to keep up, because we are still going in the old provisions. Mumbai has its first social media protection force. Mumbai got it, I think, a few years ago, when a photographer stated that her fake profile had been made, and they were using these profiles to get people followers. Now it's a crime. Now it is actually a crime to buy followers in India. And in fact, I think it was the federal company, FTC, has taken out its own guidelines. Because what happens is, if you buy followers, it has economic aspect to it. If I say I have 1 million followers, I go there and I talk to people and I say, listen, I'm going to market your product. But if those 1 million people are bots, the company's not going to have anything. You have there's some website called Social Razor, where you can put in the link of someone and see suddenly if there was a hike in people. So supposing in one day I get 1 million followers, that's not possible. Okay, it takes years and years, and sometimes some people do it when they're overnight sensations, but it's very hard. It's very hard to get that spike. So with these things, the recourse should be there. The social media intermediaries should make sure that they are trace these people down, and they are actually punished for what they do, and their accounts are banned. So in fact, most social media intermediaries are very, I would say, against these things, because no one supports it. No one wants this to happen in their business. So this is something that they go look out, make sure this happens. They have now nodal officers, all of these things. Even with the new Privacy Act, they've now asked for these nodal officers to be appointed who go out and look at things, and they've got to make sure that this doesn't happen. But this was even there in the telecommunication sector, because you had a nodal officer. If someone was making these calls to someone, you could trace these people. So the recourse for this is going to stay very old school. And these things will happen. If not metaverse, if not Facebook, somewhere else.
Yeah.
The recourse should be there, and the law enforcement should keep up with the technology, and they do. They do very well.
Correct. I think all the private players, they are making this they're trying to make sure that these things do not happen, and they have laws.
Bad for business. It's simple. It's bad for business. Who wants this? Who wants this toxic culture of people, doing? I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want to be on a platform like this. No one would want these things at all. In fact, someone's being bothersome on a Zoom call, people tend to eject them. So, I think that. And yeah, coming out the metaverse, I've heard too much about it. All people talk about is the metaverse, yeah. But that's a different story.
Yeah, maybe we'll discuss all the takedown notices, metaverse, and things like that in another podcast.
No, but you understand, metaverse is just a the idea of all of this that's happening in the metaverse is actually very old. It all started
Correct.
with Second Life. Second Life in 2003 was the first, not the first, but one of its kind. And that's when the first time Eros LLC filed a suit against them and stating that certain products were being sold. So if you look at it in under section 2, goods is defined as anything that can be traded, sold, or bought in India and in Trademark Act. So by that logic, any digital good is on platform which is being sold for money is there. There was another case. BMW filed a case against Turbo Squid 2016, if I'm correct. And what they did was they stated that these people make 3D models like of, on the virtual space. So what they were doing, they were using BMW models and they were selling them. And BMW
Yeah.
was like, you have taken a license, you can't do that. So these cases have been, this is very old. Has been happening time. In fact, one of the earliest cases I can remember, it was a video game case. 1989 Rogers test. For the first time, it was held that a video game company can use trademarks if they're not using it to market the product or using it as a consumer targeted product, but as a part of free speech. So that's when the First Amendment held it. Thereafter, there was the Humvee case. Humvee case reiterated the Rogers test and stated clearly that if you're using it as a freedom of expression and you're not calling people, oh, come play a game, you can drive the Humvee. Yes, you're totally clear. And again, Rockstar Games, they used, I think, a real life strip club's name, Pig Pen, and they called it Big Hen, something like that on their games. They were also filed a suit. That was also thrown out. So video games are protected by that. Is metaverse, if in the metaverse you're using these products for sale, for buying, for bartering, any way which is related to trade, you are going to get in trouble in the metaverse. No doubt about it.
Definitely.
But if you're using it just as a freedom expression thing, I know. And all companies have now filed their trademark in the metaverse. They've clearly stated that in the regular classes, all because companies have known this for years together now. And since metaverse started, they knew that they now have to take care and file their trademarks and protect them in the metaverse. So all companies have done that. And I think they'll also start selling their products on it. I think that's the idea of the
Correct. I think that is the idea because we have our avatars, and I think everything, especially with this AR VR technology, we can try out things. We can feel the car, how the car would look like from all
exactly.
360-degree around. Not like wearing an Oculus and feeling the object is something different, which did not happen.
You could sell them at a much lesser price.
Correct.
A real world car where it would cost you like $100,000, you could, or you could just make it for like 100.
Correct.
And the person can drive it. The person
No,
can
I would
completely
love
drive
to drive and
it.
a Lamborghini in Metaverse.
So yeah, that's definitely going to be fun.
Yeah. So Govind, now we were just discussing about freedom of speech as well. So it is a highly debated topic, not only in the digital world, in the real world too. So can you share something about your thought process on very thin line where it can act as probably criticism, or where we have exceptions of copyright under section fair dealing, like, okay, we are giving criticism and then it goes to defamation, then it goes to freedom of speech, and it's all intersection.
See, I believe that anything that is in the real world defamation is defamation on social media platform. Yeah. So only the thing that has changed is that the mode has changed, right? Correct. So if someone has a problem with someone, so all the exceptions which are for defamation, that it is the truth, the person has done a good intention, all of those will apply in a social media platform. The same test will apply. And if the person passes the test, then in that scenario, he's free to go. Okay. Right. But yes, you do have a lot of actors, I would just state, when I mean actors, I mean like users, who do take offense to a lot of things. Correct. So they can complain to, let's just say, Facebook, right? Facebook has its complaint policy, right? In case they don't have, in case they can always go to the police, but eventually it will not come, it will have nothing to do with social media. Social media, this will only have to do with your own defamation or any other particular aspect that you could associate with the real world to the social media laws, nothing else. That's all there's going to be. And social media, by and large, will not really be affected by this because that is one place where you can talk, right? And no social media, none of these platforms bar you like that. They give you a right. They give you a complete right to say whatever you want, however you want. The only thing that are coming is that, something that's to instigate hate, which is again a real world problem. If you give a speech in real life or you put a status up, you're still going to be in the same problem. The only difference here is that this particular platform will ban. And that is a good idea.
Yeah.
Like I said, same coming back to your question of there are going to be these people, these culture of men that are always going to do that. There are also going to be people who are going to have the most weirdest conspiracy theories, right? And they're going to put this out, like Pizzagate. Pizzagate was one such idea, right? You know about that. And Pizzagate was, again, propagated through social media. But it was only when people realized the power of it, that was it regulated. And that is something that is it's going to take time for social media to also come into the foray and understand and, come to terms with it. So freedom of speech is going to be unaffected largely, I believe.
Perfect. So now we'll come to your life and we'll discuss about it. So a very quick rapid fire round, which is a 3 to 1 questions, and answer them very quickly.
Okay, yeah.
3 things you are grateful for.
3 things I'm grateful for. Yeah, again, coming to that, I will, although my answer will sound vanilla, but it is definitely family. I'm very thankful for my family and friends. I'm definitely thanking for the people I met professionally. They've just been just as nice. They've been just as great, just as supportive to me. Beyond that, I would like to thank definitely all the work I've been given, and my work that I'm thankful for. And yeah, just life. Third thing is life. Just the ability that I can do so many things and be happy, while doing them.
And 2 traits you think are useful for a legal career?
Oh, definitely. I would say thinking on the feet. There'll be many times. It's just not about quotes. You'll be in negotiations. You'll be in contracts. You have to learn to think on the feet. There is no 2 ways about it. You have to be sharp. It's not something that's inbuilt. Like I've seen people hone it over a number of years, learning what to say in what situation. So that's definitely there. Second, I definitely state people as the ability to, read. Just read. Second, you just need to hog up as much knowledge in your life as you can. Just take in everything, read about everything, because a lot of law regulates states and economies and everything. So you need to know what law is having an effect where, So definitely, I think that is something that reading is very important.
And one aspiration you have for the future?
One aspiration I have, that it is going to be a happy and a bright future for all of us.
Wow, awesome. So Govind, now let's end with some key takeaways for young lawyers and legal entrepreneurs.
Young lawyers, I would really suggest that get into law and technology, because we are the generation that has, I say this again, I think I'm going to repeat myself, seem deja vu for some people, but we are the generation that was brought up with social media. We are the generation that understands it a lot. I'm not saying that they don't, but when you're bought and you see the children now, they are faster. They're way faster than we are. They know much more about stuff than we are.
I know, so, they give us complex.
It's just, when I meet children, they know so much about technology. Like, don't you know we can do this? I feel like, how did you learn that? So, of course, so I always tell them that we need people in policy. We need judges. We need people, who are elected government officials. We need these people right now. So even if they're not lawyers, they can use the knowledge they get through law to propagate and get the law and technology to meet at one point.
Correct.
That is the most important thing that I can tell.
Awesome. Well, I think you beautifully said it, because intersection of law and technology is so important. And sometimes, our traditional laws, traditional ways of working, traditional courtrooms, they kind of miss it. And we don't... it's very unfortunate that we don't have people in this industry who understand this intersection to a great extent.
I think law has really caught on in the last couple of years. Law has really made, because if you look at even judgment from the Delhi High Court or in India, so many judgments are so far ahead of their times.
Correct.
It's only when you sit down and research these aspects, AI, dark pattern, first publication rule was all the way back in 2000, I think early 2010. Correct. It is a very old judgment that I was still in law school. So these things might have taken over life, but law is catching up quick.
Yeah.
And and I'm pretty sure the median point will come soon. There, we are totally in line with that. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I also pray that it comes soon, because it is.
Yes, it is the need of the hour.
It is the need of the hour. Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much, Govind, for being on the show and giving your time to us. I am sure the audience is going to love it.
It was my pleasure. And thank you for having me. And thank you for everyone who watched. It is a very interesting topic. And yes, I hope people take more interest in it.
Thank you. Hey there, thank you for attending today's session. If you enjoyed today's session, do follow our channel and consider sharing it with a friend. My name is Priggya Arora, daughter of inspiring parents, alumna of IIT Kharagpur, engineer turned lawyer and entrepreneur, and now founder of PA Legal, where we help creators and innovators protect their intellectual property. Thank you.